Good morning, everybody. This is Stephen Rowlands, bringing to you copy time this morning, and I'm just waiting for the lovely Sasha Louise to arrive. Hopefully she will arrive soon. Okay. As you know, copy time's about spiritual chat and Q&A. So if any of you would like to comment or hello Tim, hello Charlene. I can't see comments at the moment as usual, but I'm hoping a comment's going to come up so we can start this discussion. As I said, I'm waiting for Sasha Louise Bentham to arrive. It's dead on 11 o'clock now. Okay. Alright. Okay. I think I should have done this the other way around, to be honest. Alright, okay. If I do it the one way, I can't get her on. If I do it the other way, I can get her on. Okay, and I can't see comments. That looks like a comment actually. Right. Okay. Oh, Lisa, hello Trevor, hello Tim, hello Charlene. Okay, I'm doing battle with Facebook. Right, okay. Oh, that's better. I can see comments now. As I said, I'm waiting for the lovely Sasha Louise Benson, and hopefully we're going to have a good spiritual chat today. As you can see, I'm broadcasting live from my new home, and I love it. And it's lovely to be able to show people my new home as I sit here. But as I sat here the other morning, thinking about life in general and stuff like that, it's so quiet, it's so peaceful here. You know, and, you know, above the noise of my thoughts and my emotions, I realised that nature is so peaceful. Nature is so quiet. It's only the human race that makes the noise. Not only, you know, like with our music, with our cars, with our voices, but we also make a lot of noise with our thoughts and our emotions. And as we know, everything in this life is energy. Even matter is energy. It just vibrates at a very dense level, doesn't it? And through the energy that we're giving off, you know, not only with what we do and with the noise of our actions and our words and whatever, but with the noise of our emotions and our thoughts, you know, we're affecting everything around us. And I just think, the thought come to me that we should just be more like nature. You know, we should be peaceful. Because I just think that everything in nature has its natural balance. I mean, if I could just shrink myself to about that big and walk out, you know, it's probably quite noisy with nature, you know what I mean? But me in my human world, I've just got the trees and the fields around me, and it's just so peaceful. And I think inner peace is something that we're all sort of like searching for. And I think that's a beautiful thing that Spirit teaches well, is inner peace. you know, how to seek out inner peace. Apart from the mediumistic aspects where you have to remove yourself, you have to become at peace, and you have to have that love within to have a clear connection with spirit. And, you know, to separate yourself out, you know, from what spirit's trying to transmit, communicate to you. Okay, thanks for the heart, whoever that was. And I think that is an exercise that we could do in everyday life, you know, is just become as peaceful as nature. And it's quite simple to do. You know, and I've got a fly buzzing around me, that's handy, isn't it? It's quite simple to do. How I do it is I just sit, I come into the moment, so to speak. Now, what's past is past. What is ahead of me doesn't matter because it hasn't happened yet. But all that matters now is this, in this moment. And once you realise that it's only yourself that's making the noise, you can tap into that natural peace that is all around us. I'm well, Vicky. You can come on with me if you like, Vicky, because Sasha hasn't turned up. Be nice to have a chat with you. All right. About time I had giggles on. All right. If you want to come on, Vicky, just click the button. You know how to do it. And anyway, where was I? You know, and just tap into that natural peace that's all around us. Yeah, no worries, Vicky. And just tap into that natural peace that's all around us. And draw it in within ourselves. And trust me, you know, the worries or woes or the problems that we have just seem to fade away. And that you realise that all that matters is peace. You know, and I think once we realise that peace within, and that we can create peace in our own lives, you know, that has the outward effect. We start seeking to create peace, you know, by the work that we do, by the people that we have in our lives, you know. We sort of distance ourselves from people that create problems in our lives or whatever, you know. But anyway, are there any thoughts on what I've just said? You know, because I just meet a lot of people that are not at peace. And trust me, I have the same sort of problems as everybody else, you know. I agree with that, Vicky. Yes, we are the catalyst for our own lives. And I know that life is created from within. And, you know, our lives... See, a lot of people get fooled into believing that life is an outward thing, that everything is happening to us. It's not that we're happening to life. And I think we have to realise that we're happening to life. You know, rather than sort of saying, you know, oh, they did this and they did that and that did this, that's why I've got this problem. Realise that it's not what's happening outside of us, it's how we react to it from within is the most important thing. And if we can react with peace, you know, and love, we usually get a far better outcome, you know. I was giving somebody a message the other day, and I was giving somebody a message the other day, and basically this lady can't move on because she's busy, sort of like trying to get back at the people or a person that hurt her. And what Spirit was saying to her is something that's, you know, like I see a lot of on Facebook. What Spirit was saying to her was basically the best revenge is to live the best life you can. You know, move on and just do the best you can and be the best within yourself and create life. You know, and don't look back, rather than getting yourself all bitter and twisted, you know, trying to do some sort of one-upmanship thing. Right, okay, what's Victoria saying? Sometimes at the time we think our choices are not the best, but sometimes things have to happen for us to go. Yeah, I mean, this is the thing. Things happen to us for us to grow. Things are presented to us for us to go. And you know, a lot of the time, they ain't the nicest things, are they? You know. But it's how we react to it. So we've got to be mindful about how we react to any given situation or anything that arises in our lives. Look at everything, positive or negative, as something that can teach us a lesson. You know, and step on the back foot and think, you know, what is the most peaceful, loving, kind, forgiving, accepting way of dealing with this problem. And that is true spiritual development. A lot of people think that spiritual development is learning how to connect with spirit. I mean, that's a tiny part of it. You know what I mean? The connection of spirit is just a tiny part. But the more peaceful, loving, kind, compassionate you can be, and the more you rise above whatever wants to drag you down, and you learn from the lessons that are being presented to you in life, it raises your vibration. Spiritually, it raises your vibration. And in raising your vibration, you can communicate with far higher levels of spirit. Okay? Nobody says this life is easy. Trust me, it's not easy. We all know that. It's like an assault course for the soul. Hang on, quick slurp. Right? And yeah, it's like an assault course for the soul, you know. So, but rather than seeing it as a battle, let's see it as a path. And that, thank you, Trevor. And see it as a pathway of learning, and know that the lessons are going to be difficult. And we have to look inward to find the answers. Yeah, we have to look through the pain, the anxiety, the regret, the bitterness, the anger, you know, the lost love or whatever. Hello, Eva. And say, what is this teaching me? What is this telling me about me? How can I turn this negative into a positive? You know, at the moment, I just want to say my lesson is not to look back. You know, and I did a service at Bognor last week. Was it last Sunday? Hiya, Jane. Thanks, Charlie. And the lovely Jimmy Dimitri was in the congregation. I still call it a congregation because that's what it is. I know we live in modern times and now it's called an audience, but I'm old school, so it's still a congregation, you know what I mean? And anyway, I must stop saying know what I mean. Right, okay. But, yeah, where was I? Jimmy Dimitri, in his own way, Jimmy Dimitri is another medium for those who don't know him. But he started giving me a bit of a message that was very, very accurate. And the one thing he said from my guides in spirit was not to look back. And I realised that I am looking back to certain situations, certain people. I realised that I've got to leave them alone. You know, and I've got to go forward in my own little way. You know, and there's a lesson for me. I realised that if I do go back, you know, I'll just be creating more problems for myself. So now I'm middle-aged. I'm 65, but I feel middle-aged. You know what I mean? Even though I'm 65 in body, I'm 25 years old in mind. I'm, let's just say, youngish and free and single right now. But the world's my oyster, you know, and I see it as a time of creation for me and my guys to go forward and develop together and be able to do more work, to be able to help more people. I was listening to a podcast or live, whatever you want to call it. David Hale, who's a young medium, who's been around for a year or two, and he was sort of saying that spirit you know, mediumship should be done through the heart, and I totally agree. Mediumship should be done through the heart. And what he was saying was basically, it doesn't matter how many courses or colleges you've been to or anything like that. You know, at the bottom line is spirits, you know, mediumship should be delivered through the heart. And I agree with that 100%. You know, and I'm not knocking anybody that goes to the college or has got loads of qualifications or anything like that. That's fine, that's your path. That's what you need to do. That's your path. And we can all enlighten each other in our own little way. I've just sat in development circles, sat in 3 of them. Hello Tony, hello Joanne, hello Sonia, hello Daniel. Thank you for liking a lot of my stuff. And yeah, we all have something to be able to grow and learn from each other. You know, it doesn't matter if you just sat in circle with me, you've taken all the courses. You know, it's, you know, we can all share and grow together. You know what I mean? But essentially, spirit need us to have a kind, loving, compassionate heart. I'm just going to read out Charlene Shazzy's comment. I've got to click on see more for that and all. After being in an abusive relationship for years, even when after all these years I'm still dealing with it to this day, I had to go into emergency housing and had to eventually move away. Being a medium myself, I totally agree with what you're saying, Stephen. I've got so many emotions which I'm still dealing with to this day. Charlene, you're still on your healing journey, mate. You know, I'm still getting over my, you know, the end of my second marriage. You know, and but what I have learned throughout my life, because believe it or not, I used to be very angry and very bitter and twisted. It took me 30 years to forgive my ex-wife, and my first ex-wife, and you get to realise that in life, if you need to, shall we say, move up the karmic circle, if you want to change things, because there's one lesson we all need to learn, basically, you know, and it's something that's talked about, like, hello Paul, hello Sheila, hello Tony, and is that we keep getting the same lessons. You know, if we don't change our thoughts, our emotions, our actions, you know, and, you know, work from the heart. We have to work from the heart in life as well, you know, and, you know, work for our greatest and highest good, work for our well-being. Even though what's good for our well-being and our greatest highest good can hurt, at times we have to let go and leave people behind who we truly love. But, you know, the heart says, well actually, that they're treating you like rubbish. You know, and they're making your life a misery, so you need to let them go. You know, or certain behaviours we need to let go of, you know, like drinking too much, smoking too much, drugs, whatever. You know, eating too much or whatever. You know what I mean? It's we have to look at what's best for our well-being and our greatest and highest good. I learned one thing when I was told that I had diabetes too, is that my body is my vehicle, and that if I don't look after it, you know, I won't live as long as I would like to, you know. So basically what I'm saying is, if we want to move up the karmic circle of life, we have to be prepared to change. You know, if we want to progress in life, and if we want to become the best version of ourselves, you know, not only inwardly but outwardly, you know, materially, you know, we have to change within ourselves. It's like when my second marriage finished, I said to the ex-wife, I said, this isn't my first rodeo. You know, I know exactly what to do this time. And I moved from a lovely home into a bedroom in a shared house. And even though I ain't got many belongings, I had to downsize to get into that room. But anyway, apart from all that, I knew that I had to forgive my ex-wife for ending the marriage and making me homeless. And I had to look towards the future. I knew the door had shut on me, so I had to, you know, look for the open door. And do you know what I found? After a month or so, that my mediumship got stronger, because I was out of that situation, you know. And I just feel like before that I was in a state of inertia. And oh, the screen's gone funny on the laptop. Maybe I should move this away a bit. Okay, that's it. Now I've moved the phone away, it's come back. Right, anyway. Right, okay. What can I say? My mediumship got stronger. I realised that my mediumship had got stronger after I was out of that, what I believe to be a state of inertia. I just feel that the way me and the ex lived, we just found ourselves in a state of inertia. And I just feel that my ex-wife done me a big favour. I think she done us both a favour, to be honest, by ending the marriage. You know, but before I left, I put myself on the council list, and I meditated, and I sought to be kind and compassionate and loving to myself, and knowing that the door was opening, so I had to prepare myself for the open door, you know, because there's always an open door. See, there's an old saying, one door closes, another door opens, isn't there? But that's not just an old saying, it's a universal truth. Something ends, something will begin. And where the problem lies is if we're still banging on the closed door. And as I said to the ex, this isn't my first rodeo, so I knew I had to stop banging on the closed door. I knew I had to look forward to the open door. Yeah? And, you know, so I'm still in that process of walking towards the open door. And I agree, Vicky. Loving yourself is so important in all situations, because loving yourself doesn't mean that you become a diva. It means that you are focused on your greatest and highest good. You're focused on your well-being. And what self-love does, it teaches us what's good for us, but it also teaches us what's bad for us and what to avoid in life. But I'm not only talking about, you know, outward stuff like food or, like I said, stuff like that, or people or what's bad for us. What thoughts and emotions are bad for us? Now, it's a universal truth that positive balance is negative. So when we're feeling spiteful, bitter, regretful, hurt through lost love, we're angry, because I was very angry with the ex-missus to start off with, for the situation that she put me in, you know. And if we can look at the positive of that, and the positive of all that is love, self-love, and having love for life. Hello, John Brannigan. And you've got to have love for life, because life is beautiful, you know. And right, let's see what Jane's saying. It's taken me 73 years to be happy and love myself. What a waste of years. I know what you're saying, Stephen. Yeah, how long's a piece of string, Jane? Some people, you know, can get over things quickly. Others, like me and you, it takes years. You know what I mean? Like I said, it took me 30 years to forgive my first ex-wife. You know, so, you know, but don't look at those 73 years as a waste. You know, it's all part of your learning journey. I could kick myself over those 30 years, you know what I mean? And think of the wasted time and the opportunities that I missed and all the rest of it. But it's helped me to evolve. It's helped me to grow. And it's helped me in this situation at the end of my second marriage to be able to, you know, face away from the closed door and seek out the open door, you know. Charlene, you're on a very long journey. And balance that anger with love. Balance that anger with knowing that you're free now and that you can create your life as you see fit. You know, the one thing I've learned about anger is the only person it hurts is ourselves. You know, because I used to be a very, very angry man, you know, and it's like in this situation, I knew my anger was only hurting me. So, meditation, love, kindness to self, compassion to self, sending compassion and love to my ex helped me to heal. Charlene, you've got your life back, babe. Oh, I don't know if I should call you babe. I'm sorry if you're offended by that. Okay, but it's how I talk. I'm from Slough. And I'll even debate that with you, Jane. I don't think it was wasted energy. I just think, you know, it's taught you the energies that we should be focusing on. You know, I'm sort of like 65 now, and I've wasted a lot of my life being an idiot. You know, but I got to the lesson in the end. Yes, I know, Claire. I know you have. Claire used to be a student of mine, and but Claire, you need to have that compassion. I could talk to you about it all day and all night long, but until you open your heart and have that compassion, it won't happen. You know, but have that compassion for yourself, because that compassion will give you strength. Does that make sense? Yeah, wear a skirt. You know, wear what you like. It's entirely up to you. I'm a great believer in self-expression. You know what I mean? I think we should be able to wear what we like, as long as we're not sort of like upsetting it. As long as we're not showing our bits too much, I think we should be able to wear what we like and go where we like. You know what I mean? So you wear the clothes that express you, Charlene, and walk down the road with your head held high. You know what I mean, Charlene? All right. But I think this is getting into a bit of the debate about non-binary people or people who see themselves as women and everything going into women's toilets. I don't agree with that. But I think there's a lot of unisex toilets around. I've noticed them in companies and things like that. Or when I've been out and about. I mean, why don't we just make it all unisex? You know what I mean? But, you know, or they could have their own separate toilets. But I believe everybody should be able to express themselves. You know, hello, Tracy Lee. I see you've been having a good time at the hoedown. You know, okay. Yeah, I have settled in nicely, you know, just a few tweaks that I need to do, but other than that, it's fine. So anyway, this is brought up another subject, you know, about self-expression. We live in a society. I agree with that, John. But when we go into public toilets, we're meeting strangers. You know, I don't really want to get into that debate because it's a bit of a pot subject, but yeah, but you're from Hayes, Claire. I wouldn't be surprised if you go. I wouldn't be surprised that you go into the men's loo. And that's one thing I've noticed. There's always a queue in the ladies, but you're a tiny little woman, Claire. You're not a threat to the big burly geezers that are using the toilets. You know what I mean? And but a man dressed as a woman in a female toilet can be seen as a threat. Okay, and you know they're probably quite innocent and all the rest of it, but they can be seen as a threat. Yeah, I'd certainly want to know if I was standing at your urinal and you were coming in. I'd certainly want you to shout out, you know. But you know, I don't want to be sitting here talking about who should use the toilet and who shouldn't. You know, because even though like non-binary people or people who identify as women might be quite innocent, quite gentle, lovely people, they can be seen as a threat. So I think there should be some kind of separate toilet arrangements made, and that's my last word on it. And anyway, it's opened up the debate about self-expression. We live in a society that tells us we should be a certain way, dress the same way, work, all the rest of it, society. I've been a serving medium for 42 years, John. I've been a Christian spiritualist for 47 years, and I've been demonstrating for 42 years. I know I don't look old enough, John. All right? Okay, that's always my joke. But anyway, yeah. So, anyway, I'd like to open up the debate about self-expression. Yeah, I've been doing it a long time, mate. Tell me, were you there when I done that? John, were you there when I done that demonstration at Connections of Light in Darwin? There was a bloke who looks just like you there. Anyway, yeah. Right, but my guest hasn't come today, so I'm just ad-libbing it. Charlene, how can I explain this? Charlene asked, how did I pick up on a live that you're a medium? Right. Spirit love to use digital technology. All right. Now, when COVID kicked in, and oh, brilliant. I hope you enjoyed the service, John. Anyway, let's get on with Shazzy's question. Spirit used to love digital technology. When COVID kicked in and we had to go live, I was one of the first people to demonstrate live. But what happened was I was a bit peed off because people were doing lives, waving giant tarot cards above their heads, and all they were doing was market themselves. So what I did was I went live, but I done it in the form of a spiritualist service. I know this isn't answering your question, but I am getting there, Charlene, all right? But what surprised me, it was nearly as good vibrationally, and getting the link vibrationally with spirit and communicating that information to a person, that spirit could connect with a person on a Facebook Live. You know, because as you know with Facebook Live, you see a tiny little profile picture. And I don't know what you're talking about. You don't use anything at all. All right. But anyway, the spirit could come along and say, I want to talk to that person and give them an accurate message. It totally surprised me. It's nearly as strong as doing a live service. And that's how I picked up on a live that you are a medium, because, you know, I was just vibrationally told that. Does that make sense, Charlene? I'm just going to wait for Charlene to answer. In fact, I've been surprised at the accuracy of some of the messages I've given and what I've seen other people give as well. You know, I'm glad you understand what I've said, Charlene. All right, but spirit can create the link wherever, and I think spirit are amazing, to be honest, to be able to do that. You know, and get me to tell me where to go and what to say and what to, you know, and all the rest of it. I just think it's amazing. A lot of people, not Facebook Lives and Zoom services and all the rest of it, and there is this big debate about, you know, because churches are getting less attended because people are going on Zooms and Facebook Lives. But I just see Facebook Lives and Zoom as like another medium for spirit that really served a purpose. You know, what was I saying? I just caught Tracy Lee's comment. I went totally off subject. But I just see, you know, Zooms and Facebook Lives as another medium for the spirit, the same as a church is church or a centre is a medium for spirit, and I hope you understand me on that. It's just another medium. But I think if you I've gone off subject then. But I think if you want to see, if you want the best kind of mediumship, go to a church or a centre, because, as I said, spirit communicate through the heart. And as a medium, I prefer to do a church or a centre, because you get that heart connection, and it's beautiful. All right? Right, Tracy Lee saying, humans still lead, spirits still speak. We need spirit communication, Tracy. That's what I think. I was doing a demonstration at Chichester the other day, and it was only sort of, I don't know, 6 people there, and that was including me and the lady running it. And which said, what do you want to do? And I said, let's do a meditation. And she said, well, we still want to hear from our loved ones. So spirit communication is very much needed, not just for the evidence, That to me is, evidence should be given just purely for recognition. That's what I think anyway. All right. I just think there's too much emphasis put on evidence. Because with evidence, you're telling people stuff they already know. All right. But just tell them enough so that they know that you're talking to Dad, you know, the bloke you work with, your sister, your brother, whatever. All right. And anyway, yeah, that's my view on evidence, but I still love to connect people with their loved ones. But what Spirit Guide Lee said back in 1978 was that evidence should be given for recognition only. You know, and then comes the message. Once you've had your evidence survival, then the journey of discovery begins. And I totally believe that to be true. And ever since I've been on a journey of discovery. Right. Charlene says, I don't necessarily agree with that, John. I'll come to that in a minute. What Charlene's saying is, I was 8 when I started to feel someone was telling me things, but of course I didn't realise what was going on. Yeah, I understand that. I mean, lifelong. I mean, my first real sort of like experience with spirit was when I was 8 years old. No, not 8, 3 years old. And I remember when I started infant school, when I was 5, there used to be a nun there telling me off for being lazy in class. Because right throughout school, I never had any interest in it. All right? It's something that I had to do. But anyway, years later, I was talking to my parents. I was telling them about this nun that used to tell me off for being lazy at school. And my mum said, what nun? There were no nuns there. So there you go. All right, but she was as clear as day telling me off that I was naughty for being lazy at school. I wouldn't say it takes away the fear of death. I've met a lot of people, John, over the years, and I don't think it's so much, you know, we all know we're going to die, but for me, it's how I die. I mean, I'd like to sort of like fall asleep in a chair after a lovely Sunday lunch. You know what I mean? That'd be my perfect death. But, you know, I don't think it takes the pain of grief away, because I'm still demonstrating and giving it evidence to people that have had evidence 1,000 times over, yet they're still grieving. I wrote a blog, I might post it, John, actually, about how grieving for my dad made me a better medium. Okay, because I didn't really experience grief until my father died, John. So, you know, but it helped me to understand the people that I'm giving messages to, you know, and knowing that they're grieving and all the rest of it. Yes, yeah, evidence takes away the fear of death to a degree, but it doesn't take the pain of grief away. This is where Lee was right. You know, once you've had your evidence, then the journey of discovery goes on. You've not got to believe, you've got to know that life's eternal. And that's the difference. Too many people believe rather than knowing. If you're knowing, and then you want to study and you want to grow more, you know, you want to learn more and find out how it all works. Right, let's go to the other comments. I don't know if anybody agrees with what I've just said. Okay. Do you know what, Trevor? I agree with you. All right. But as I said, Trevor, Zooms and Facebook Lives are just another medium of spirit. They're another channel for them to use, same as the church and the centre. But I think if churches become more community-minded, like Connections, where I met John, they do all sorts. Up there, they have different kinds of spirituality, different disciplines, all the rest of it, and they have social events. They even have blooming bingo there. You know what I mean? But it's a real community thing. You've got Tottenham Spiritualist Church where they got a food bank, you know, and they've got a clothes bank as well, you know, where they give food and clothes to the homeless and to you know, families that are struggling. That to me is real spiritualism. You know, is serving the community, because the great teaching of spirit is service to others. Yeah. Right, 5 comments. I'm missing out on these comments. Right. Trouble is I talk too much. Yeah, spiritualism's great for helping people that have lost loved ones. You know what I mean? But it's when we continue to hold on to that grief, that's when it becomes bad. You know. Yeah, I'm not sure about mediumship running in families. Like I said to you on the night, I mean, I'm adopted, so I don't know whether my natural family were mediumistic. I know my adopted family certainly weren't. Can you explain more, Tracy, that humans remain the guiding force? I think spirit are trying to guide us to sort of like, you know, raise our consciousness as a human race, as a collective human consciousness. Yeah, the way I look at it, Tracy Lee, is quite simple. Is that when I'm doing mediumship or healing or whatever I'm doing, the mediumship is an act of love to the person receiving the message. It's also an act of love to the spirit communicators to be able to pass the message through me. And again, the crux of it is about love. You know, love to spirit and allowing them to use you, and love to the people receiving the message. That makes sense. All right, I can't scroll down for some reason. All right, okay. Hello, Natalia. Yeah, it will change. I mean, a connection with a dad, you know. I'll tell you a little story about my dad passed 10 years ago. And I grieved for him hard for a good 2 or 3 years, you know. Even though he comes to me and he was giving signs and everything like that. And you know, I knew he was there. But his favourite song was Wandering Star from Paint Your Wagon. I even put it on one of my seance CDs, and I've got it on my Spotify in the car, you know. And it's usually where I'm going to or from a service that it comes on, so I know he's with me. Or when the hymn is How Great Thou Art, the opening hymn is How Great Thou Art in a church. That was my dad's favourite hymn, so I know he's there with me. Sometimes I'll shut my eyes and I can see him as clear as day. Yes, he's there. But it's always that physical loss. That's what I think hurts people the most. And anyway, talking of letting go again and not looking back, I was driving to a service the other day, and you know, Wandering Star came on, but I was really drawn to the bit where it says, you know, hell is in hello, but heaven is goodbye. It's time for me to go. And I think in that part of that song, Dad was asking me to let him go. All right. And I think that we should allow our loved ones, we should pray for them and we should talk to them in our thoughts and through our hearts. But I think we should be prepared to be eventually let them go one day, let them carry on their eternal universal journey. That's spiritual development as well. Okay, and that's about, you know, I know my daddy's alive and well in spirit, you know, but he needs to continue his journey in spirit. We're still connected by love. We used to call it the golden cord years ago. You know, and they can always talk to us and all the rest of it. It's just that they're not here in their physical form. But we must prepare to let them carry on the journey. Okay? And that is a journey of healing as well. Okay? And thank you for all the hearts and likes on that little thing. Right, hang on. Yeah, okay. I've just got to scroll up. So oh, wow. Nice one. That's lovely. I always love going to that church. You know what I mean? It's got such a beautiful energy in it, John. All right? And love does make the world go round. Spirit teaches that, you know, love is the fabric of the universe, and we should realise that. Right, okay. I'm going to have a quick slurp. What I'm going to do at the end of this is I'm going to read my poem Far Away. And it's a poem that I wrote inspired by Spirit Guide Lee. Alright? And basically what Lee said years ago was that we should not grieve. He accepted that there should be a time of mourning, you know, of loss, but we should allow our loved ones to go on their eternal journey, and we should let them go because we are in danger of holding them to the earth. Yeah, they're always there, even though we don't sort of might feel any physical presence with them or you know, like the usual signs or the usual feelings. They're always there. We're all connected. Everything is connected. That's what Spirit teaches. So you send a thought out to them, they will get it. And they can send their thoughts back through the usual channels. I was talking about, I'm going to get that poem up in a minute because we've got 8 minutes left. Okay. But I read something beautiful ages ago about grief. Is the fact that when we grieve, we know we have loved. You know, and it's love that has nowhere to go. But you can still send your love to your loved ones. All right, you can't run up and give them a big hug because they're not here. But you can send your love through your heart and through your mind to them in spirit. Okay? And what I do know after 42 years of demonstration is that Spirit wants us to have the best life. Our loved ones want us to have the best life possible. You know? Exactly, grief is love. It's like my ex-wife dumping me. I grieved over that, you know. Even though she's alive and kicking and well and living sort of like a few miles away. It's still grief, whether someone dies or someone says they don't want to be in our lives anymore, or we leave someone, you know, it's all grief. But we have to move on. This is what I'm saying. We have to allow our loved ones to move on. But we're all connected by love, folks, so, you know, and just by saying that, I feel I've done more there than sat here for, you know, giving messages to people, you know what I mean? Oh, Wendy Gale Gates must be not working today, all right? But anyway, hello, Wendy, how are you? Like I say, I'll let you into a little secret. I don't like doing Facebook Live mediumship. They wind me up. It's all this anything for me. That's me personally. But I know I'm honoured that I get asked to do them. But I know that there can be that message given that can really help someone. So that's why I do it. All right. Yeah, our loved ones do help us and support us from spirit. You know, they speak to us through our intuition. They put the right energies around us to help us. You know what I mean? I'll never forget years ago, I went to a transfiguration meeting in that Llanelli, all right? I probably haven't said it right, so apologies to any Welsh people that are watching. But, you know, it was the lovely Ray Williams who was the medium, and I looked away for some reason. I looked back and there was my grandmother sitting there. You know, total 100% transfiguration. I couldn't believe it. And then she gave me a message through him, you know, and it was wonderful. I think the thing with grief is we think they're gone, don't we? You know. Yeah, but they're not gone. They're just alive in their true state of being, you know, and we're still connected. And as spiritualists, we should realise that, you know. Charlene, you make sure you're in a proper trance circle for that. I am a trance medium. All right, the first thing I did in Spiritual Development Circle back in 1978 was go into trance. I was taken in trance, if you know what I mean. And I demonstrate trance now. In fact, I'm doing an FP Live trance on the 29th. Okay. But I need somebody to help me with that. I'm looking for someone that can come round here, and when it comes to the questions and answers, to be able to ask my spirit guide the questions that people are asking. I really need somebody to help me with that. So if anybody lives local or would like to help, they're more than welcome to come round and help. All right. Whereabouts do you live, Charlene? Yeah, trust me, Charlene, you need to be in a proper development circle with a proper trance medium that knows what they're talking about. Okay? Because trance can be... You're too far away to come down here. All right, Charlene? All right, you're a good couple of hours from me. I live in Winchester, so, yeah. Thank you for your offer, though. But I was hoping somebody local will come round, so they've only got to come up the road. Okay. Anyway, where was I? Hello, Denise. That was me being needy by asking for help, but I've got nobody to help me to ask the questions that people are asking, you know, because obviously I'll be in another place, you know. My spirit guides love to answer questions. Yeah, not when is my house, you know, when I sell my house, will my boyfriend come back or all the rest of it, or will I get an appointment to get my nails painted next week or whatever. Proper life path questions or spiritual development questions, they're the questions that they love to answer. Okay? You know, anyway. Oh, hello, Perwinder. I hope you're well, mate. I just want to say, I got booked for a private sitting 2 or 3 weeks ago, and the gentleman still hasn't paid me. So what I will say is that if you want to book a private reading with me, yes, I will certainly give you a private reading, but now it's a strict rule, you pay before the reading. Okay? Anyway, just saying. Right. Okay, I don't like being ripped off like anybody else does. Right, okay. Anyway, getting back to self-expression. Whatever way you want to express yourself, as long as it's not offending anybody or hurting anybody, please express yourself. Because the spirit craves to be its truest self. You know. So if you want to walk around with a traffic cone on your head and you love it, do it. You know what I mean? That's just a little example. You know. I've got my cherry stuck. Anyway, it's come to the time where I'm going to read you that poem. I've got to find it yet. But it's based on what Spirit Guide Lee said about in fact, I've got it up on the wall here. I can take it off the wall and read it to you. Okay. There you go. My poem, inspired by Spirit Guide Lee. And when I've read it out before, I posted it out before on Facebook, people have told me it's helped them. So I'm going to read it out to you now. I printed it out and stuck it up on my wall. Alright. I don't know what people are going to think of that. I'm printing off my own poems and putting them up on the wall. But anyway, this poem is entitled Far Away. Death is the truth of life. Everyone dies. The hardest fact of life is that life goes on. Our hearts in sorrow never seem to heal. Whether our beloved abandon us or pass away, life moves forward in a constant rhythm. It is very easy for friends to say, your beloved is in a better place. Let go, just move forward, live your life. Our grief deep within stands as still, heart and mind craving the presence of our beloved far away. Life is a journey in this world and beyond. We must weep for our loved ones passed away and bid a fond farewell with love to our beloved who journey far away. Love has no boundaries in time and space, for love is eternal and cannot pass away. Let us give our love and blessing, safe journey to our beloved who journey far away. And I hope that's helped. You know. Right, okay. Right, it's time for me to go now. I'm sorry that Sasha Louise didn't turn up. I'm sure we would have had a lovely discussion. But whatever. I feel we've had a good discussion today anyway. Thank you to everybody that has contributed to this discussion. Okay. But now I'll have to say fairly well. Take care. I know, Nicola, I'm just about to end. Alright. But anyway, you take care. Thanks, Jane. What I want to say is that I'm opening a closed development circle here. Okay, I've got one sitter. I just need to get another 3. Even though I've got a large living room, but with the furniture in it and all that, I can only fit another 3 people in it. 4 people. Alright, so I'm looking for students. I'm also going to do home transits from here as well. And for anybody that wants to come round and talk to spirit guides and all the rest of it. Hello, Lisa. I didn't realise you were on, Lisa. But anyway, yeah, so it's going to be all going on. And I first started out in life, in spiritual life, as a trance healer. So if anybody wants to come round for a bit of healing, they're more than welcome. All right? You lot take care. God bless.